Okay, I'm going to try to do this in one take. Sorry for the quality of my voice. I've been sick. Basically, this is a tutorial about how to use Capture 2019 Student Edition, which is free, to visualize your light show in SoundSwitch. And I'm going to do this for a very simple setup, but you can take the principles in there and expand it to be fairly complicated. Um, this is all just to do it for free. If you want to buy Capture 2019, you can add any fixture you want and make custom fixtures and other software and bring them in there. But anyway, this works natively on one computer, on one Mac computer. I haven't tried it on Windows. Probably works on Windows as well. So it gives us a good option, an alternative to using a separate computer or purchasing a very expensive piece of software. So right on to it. Basically what we're going to do today is set up a very basic venue, two moving heads on a table or something like that, and four par cans, probably RGBW par cans. These will basically, my idea was that they would be behind a 4-panel facade or something like that, because it's a pretty popular setup. So here we're in our new default menu. This is a clean install, so there shouldn't be anything in here to worry about. And instead of just going to add a new fixture, we're going to say we're going to have 6 fixtures in our venue. For each fixture, we're going to insert a fixture group. So click on Insert, click Insert Fixture Group, and do that 5 more times. Okay. 6 groups. Perfect. We're going to have 2 Intimidator 250s and 4 Chauvet Slim Par H6s. Basically, we're just to keep things organized, we're going to rename all of our groups. So I'll go ahead and do that. If I say left, that means house left, just for you stage people out there. And mid-left is obviously the leftmost of the center scrims. Mid-right. Okay, there we go. So that's 6 groups, no fixtures in them. So the first thing we're going to do is set up as if we were going to make this our actual venue with our actual lights. So I'm going to go find my Chauvet Intimidator. Intimidator 250, 250, 250. There it is. Okay, so I'm going to put one of these in here, and then I'm going to put another of those in here. So right mover gets one and left mover gets one. Okay, now we're going to move on to our Slim Par H6s. Slim Par. The H6 yeah, okay, so here's the H6 USB. And I guess we'll put that in, keep things simple, we'll just do the 7-channel mode. So left scrim, mid-left scrim, mid-right scrim, right scrim. Okay, so now we have all of our actual fixtures in our venue. If you look at the DMX map, it looks like this. That's good. Okay, so now I'm going to go to a different area, and we're going to pick fixtures that exist in Capture 2019. And I asked the guys at SoundSwitch to add these specific fixtures to the database in this format so they'd be easier to find. And they were kind enough to do that for me. Thank you. So basically, I don't want to go into too much detail about these. Right now we're going to use the Martin Mac 250 Entour to replicate our Intimidator Spot 250s. I'm going to drag one of these here, And then we're going to take the other one and we're going to put it here. Okay, so we have the moving heads taken care of. And then we're going to take our color dash par quad 7s and we're going to put one of those in each of the groups that has a par can in it. So that's left scrim, mid left scrim, mid right scrim, and right scrim. Cool. So now we basically have 2 of each of our fixtures. So we have 12 fixtures in real life, but in SoundSwitch it's going to see, we have 6 fixtures in real life, but in SoundSwitch it's going to see 12 fixtures. And conveniently enough, they are color coded the same because they're in the group. Now, the easiest way to do this is to take the fixtures that we don't own, that being the Martin Mac 250s, and drag those like this over into Universe 2. So I'm going to make that Martin Mac 250 at channel 1 in the second universe. And where's the other? Here's the right mover, Martin Mac 250, and that's going to start at channel 16. And then we'll take our color dash par quad, go 31, the mid left color dash par quad 41, mid right color dash par quad 51, right scrim color dash par quad 61. Okay, so this is what our fake venue looks like, and this is what our real venue looks like. The channels don't match up, but they don't have to because Capture is going to ignore all of this information. Okay, and so that's pretty much it as far as setting up SoundSwitch goes. SoundSwitch is pretty much done. Now what we have to do is, I just minimized those groups to make it easier. Open up Capture 2019 Student, which you can get off the internet. So I'm just going, I've already installed it. You don't need to worry about this, but we're going to just create a new Capture project. And since this tutorial isn't really about designing anything in there, I'm not going to do a lot of that. I'm just going to drag the fixtures in and show you that they work. So we're going to go to Library, we're going to click Fixtures, and first thing we need is the R2 moving headlights. Those are Martin Mac 250 Entour. So I'm going to drag those in right here. 1 and 2. Cool. And then I'm going to put in my wash lights, which are my par lights, which I believe were, what did we use? Chauvet color dash par quad 7. So I'm going to take those, I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, just to make these nice and neat, drag them sort of centered and go spread evenly. You get this little window to pop up, say horizontal, and then do the same thing with these. Oh, that's fine. Okay, so this program is pretty amazing. You can see where everything is that way. I'm going to stick with this view as top. For now, eventually I'll change that, but this is what it looks like from the front. So what I can see is that my moving heads, the Martins, are probably upside down from where I'm going to want them to be. And these are probably not going to be angled at the correct angle. So first thing I'm going to do is take these and orient them correctly, or hopefully correctly. One thing to consider that we'll have to work on this later is you have to make these moving heads do what your moving heads do by orienting them correctly, which can take a little bit of time, but once you get it, you don't have to really worry about that anymore. So don't worry about all this. I'm just getting it so that you can sort of see what's happening. All right, now I'm going to change the top view from a wireframe view. So you just click this little 3-line button, change it from wireframe to live. I'm going to select all the fixtures in here, I'm going to click this power button and turn them all on. Now you can scroll around to the front and see the orientation of all these fixtures. So I can see that these fixtures, the par cans, are not aimed correctly. So I'm going to rotate those around so that they aim correctly. And I can see that the Martin movers look good. So if I just highlight those in here, you can get these controls here by pushing this power button. You can make it go away by doing that. But basically, you know, this is controlling them. Once we have SoundSwitch sending ArtNet data to this, you will no longer be able to do those controls. Anyway, so what we're going to do is go to our fixtures, and we're going to patch them. So if we look here in this lower right-hand corner, it says Design, then it says Fixtures, and each of these is currently unpatched. Excuse me. We want to set them up the same way that we have them set up in SoundSwitch. So if we look back at our DMX map, we're going to ignore Universe 1 for now. We're going to go to Universe 2 and see that the left mover is at channel 1. So we go back here, find our left mover, that's house left, and that is going to be channel 1. So we could just double click this and type type B.1. That means Universe 2 channel 001. Universe 1 is A. That's how they have it set up. For the next one, this is our right moving headlight. So that is going to be channel 16. So I'm going to double click B.16. And you can just double check the mode here and make sure that they're correct. So this is our 15 channel mode, and that is the same mode that we're using here, 15 channel mode, 15 channel mode. So then we're going to look at our color dash par quad 7s, and the left scrim is at channel 40. So we're going to go find our left scrim one, that's this one, and this is in 10 channel mode. We are using these in 10 channel mode, so going to go ahead and set that to B, what did I say it was? 31. Cool. Then we're going to look at the next one, B-41. I should have been able to figure that out. B41, B51, B61. Okay, that is it as far as addressing our fixtures goes. So you'd think now that when we went back to SoundSwitch, if we added some stuff, that we'd be able to see it. However, due to an issue, you need to have the target device running. You have to have capture running first before you can open up SoundSwitch and send ArtNet from SoundSwitch to capture. It doesn't work for whatever reason otherwise. So we're going to go back to capture. We're going to hit File, Save As. I'll just say this on my desktop. SoundSwitch Visualizer Tutorial. Okay, and then we'll close capture. I'm going to save this, SoundSwitch, close SoundSwitch, and then we're going to wait for everything to be closed completely. We're going to open up capture again. Ignore that. We're going to open up, this is the project that we just completed. So there are fixtures still addressed as they should be. And here over in this tab where it says Universe, you can actually see what DMX data is coming in. So right now, no DMX data is coming in. So my next step is to open up SoundSwitch. Here it is. And now you can see as soon as SoundSwitch opened, this had this sort of thing pop up, ArtNet Universe 0, ArtNet Universe 1. And so you will see data in ArtNet Universe 0 because SoundSwitch will send all of the data from both venues, from both universes, but you're just ignoring Universe 1 on in Capture. That'll usually be sent out to your SoundSwitch interface and then directly to your lights that way. So that's pretty much it, basically. Now, the only caveats, the multiple caveats are mainly this. You need to write to the fixture tracks. You need to write to the group tracks. You cannot write to individual fixture tracks. This is usually a good way of working anyway, but I'm just saying it is a limitation of this method. If you want to do whatever you want all the time, then go buy the full version. But so yeah, basically just to demonstrate that it's working, I'll go ahead and open this awesome song, auto script it. Yep, sure, whatever. Cool. And when I play this back, it should, yeah, we're seeing these light up red, and there is no actual peak data there, so that's what you're going to see. Probably impossible to hear this too. Anyway, so yeah, okay, so that works, and that's cool, and that's pretty much all you have to do for the most part. One thing to consider is that sometimes your moving heads won't do what you're hoping they would do. So for instance, we're going to have to set up our positions, and the best way to do this is to look at your actual lights, have your actual light show in front of you while you are working on the capture project, because that way you can tell, okay, so if I select my Intimidator spot 250, which I actually own, and I select my Martin Mac 250 Entour, which I don't own, but is just being used here as a visualization of my real fixture, and I drag them around. Okay, so it looks like my Mac 250 is doing, you know, the wrong thing. I want my Mac 250 to do what my Intimidator 250 does, which is when I point it here, it's supposed to be pointing forward. And that's just a matter of getting your positions to be in the correct orientation in Capture. So I'd just basically go in to Capture, take all these fixtures, put them all sort of here. Then I'd go into Capture, select both of the moving headlights like that, and I'm going to switch this view from front to top. And then, so basically I'll just select this one and rotate it around 180 degrees. This one and rotate it around 180 degrees. One thing that can be really helpful, because sometimes it's difficult to see what's going on in Capture, is good views, and this is our alpha view, alpha, beta, gamma. I can do a more in-depth tutorial about Capture later if there's need for it. Just raise your ambient lighting, say to, I don't know, 10%, 15%, and then that should let you see a bit more of what's going on. That did not seem to work for some reason. Okay, now it's, you know what it is, because there's almost nothing in the scene. There's no furniture. I could also do a tutorial about that, but if you notice, you can see the outlines of the moving heads light up and then go away. So anyway, you can sort of see the general shape of the fixture. Okay, so there it is, 20%, and these are facing generally sort of forward. And so then I can actually go and leave Capture open while I am editing my positions and make sure that they look somewhat reasonable. So disco ball, we could call that up and sort of in. I'm sure you guys don't want to watch me arrange all of these fixtures this way. All right, those, okay. So make sure that you are selecting the right fixtures. So if you want to adjust the right mover, then select the red group. And if you want to adjust the left mover, select the light sort of beige brown group, and then hit apply. And now we have at least one position to use. But yeah, it works. I mean, and you can do a lot of other stuff with the fixtures that are in here. And I can do some more in-depth tutorials if you want to check those out. If there's need for it, I'd be happy to do that. Otherwise, that's basically how you do it. So it doesn't matter if you have 6 fixtures like I have here, or if you have, you know, an entire universe. You can't do more than an entire universe just because you only get 2 universes out of SoundSwitch, and we're in this point, we're sort of dedicating one of them to visualization. The other thing that I mentioned is you can't write to the individual fixture track. So if I want to actually edit this light show, I have to, if I can go to select my mover tracks, and I could write a chase across those, but I can't, I can write a chase across the groups. So when it says, do you want to use the groups or the selected tracks, you would click selected tracks because you've selected your group tracks. So if I write an alternating chase across those, it'll work. But if I was to write it to these individual tracks, then suddenly I can have my visualizer instrument doing something different than my other instrument. Sorry, the cat is trying to get in here. Hi, cat. And so that you don't want to do that. But basically, it's a good way to work anyway, to just keep it organized. Try to, you know, have your fixtures in groups and only use the groups tracks to write light shows. Unfortunately, that does cause some issues with some multi-headed fixtures. Any fixture that has multiple light points usually ends up creating a group. So you can't usually put those into groups because they are their own groups. But this is mainly sort of a basic thing where you could get a basic way to see what your light show looks like. Or you can make totally insane, crazy light shows with really expensive instruments that you don't have access to, because that is what they have in here in Capture. I really like it. I think it's great software, and I'd be happy to do some tutorials later about how to set up your stage. I'll probably do one right now, just sort of like, just to mess around, but this is the end of the technical tutorial. So thanks for watching. Yeah. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up on YouTube or Facebook, anywhere, whatever. I like to use this, you go to Library, Objects, we scroll down and find Stages, and you can just do like a black box stage. That's usually one of the easiest ways to visualize everything, because it's a very simple sort of look. Just drop it in here, something like that. And then the only problem is you have to get inside it, but now you can actually see what your fixtures sort of look like. And because it looks like that, now we can turn the ambient lighting down somewhere around there. And let me just give myself something to hear while I'm doing this. Okay. Yeah, so basically now, like, you could do this a few different ways. I'm going to basically just take say a stage deck. I think that's a good way to make a table. Drop that in here like this, and then go over here to my diagram, make sure it's pretty much lined up with the floor. Put it mostly in the middle. Then I'll just take my moving headlight, put it over here on the actual table. Okay, so yeah, that works fairly well. You could, there are a couple ways you can make this look like a scrim. You can add a, go up here where it says forms and add a box right in front of it. Change the size of the box so that it doesn't cover everything completely. Go over here, make the width 4 feet, make the width 6 feet, and then make the height 3 feet. I think that might be too low. Most facades are more like 40 inches or something. Okay, and then make the depth half an inch. Oh, yeah, that's half a foot. 0.5 inches. Okay, and then we can go to the material, create a new material, and make it 100% transparent, and give it a frost of 50, make it white. Oh, that's annoying. The window popped up down here and you can't see it, but there it is. So yeah, make sure that the material is white. Okay, click over here, and then call this Scrim. Then apply this material to this box. Yeah, so now it's like frosted, but it's behind the light, so you can't really see it. So I will change this to my side view and move that Scrim up where we can actually see that it's obscuring the lights. Go back to SoundSwitch. Now you can sort of see what it looks like a bit better. Maybe frost 100%. Transparency. There we go. Transparency at 15%. Tint 100%. Frost one. That looks pretty good, I think. Yeah, other stuff. I mean, you can do little things like add your CDJs to your table, and these actually look exactly like they must have modeled the CDJs. Then put your, and this is the DJM. Put that in the middle. They are upside down, I think, so change this to top. Yeah, like this. Oriented correctly. I know this is probably what most DJs want to spend their time doing, CAD work. But you can make it look pretty much exactly like any venue, and there are like some real uses for this sort of thing. Like, let's say you know what fixtures are going to be in a venue, but they're not your fixtures. They're the venue's fixtures. Well, if you wanted to, you could make an entirely, you could arrange a venue or arrange your venue just by adding the fixtures that are available in the venue you're going to be playing, and you could just drag those into your groups, and then suddenly you've taken complete control of the light show of the venue, and it's actually doing stuff that probably the people who normally do lights there maybe have never even seen their lights do before. Like, for if it's at a venue that's similar to the ones that I often play at, where the lighting designer is just sort of whoever is running sound, and they turn on luminaire and walk away. So basically, you know, this is a pretty powerful tool. You can also use this for something else, like say you know all of the you know your lights, and you've set up some positions, but you're going to have to set them up differently for a venue. Well, if you put them wherever you want in this space, they're already addressed correctly, so you know that they're going to do what your lights are going to do, because you've tested that. And you can go through and edit your positions so that they work right, you know, so that you're not guessing as much. Like maybe there's really is a disco ball in this place, so you want, for disco ball, you want everything to be pointed right at it. So you could even add the disco ball and make sure that it's in the right spot. Or you can do some other cool stuff with something like this. Like, what would all my light shows look like if I completely, you know, if I turned all the fixtures upside down? Like, what if I buy a new piece of truss and all my fixtures are in a different spot? Am I going to have to redo everything about my my light show? Probably so, in my experience. But it's cool too. I mean, you can experiment with adding 4 new lights without actually buying them. There are just a lot of options that you have that you wouldn't necessarily have otherwise. So I really think visualizations are useful and great. I'm glad that we have this tool, and I'm really glad that it's free, because I could not afford it otherwise. You could also, you know, use it to find out if a specific light show that you designed is going to make it so you get hit in the face, which I'm sure we've all been there before. Let's see. People, this is always good to do. Drop yourself in there. Make sure you're standing mostly on the ground. And try to make yourself not look stupid. So instead of arms pose walking, you could do singing, or I think this one's pretty good. No. If you do that while you're DJing, then you're cooler than me. Yeah, so mainly stick to something like that. There you go. Yeah. And again, you know, you can raise the ambient lighting percentage while you're doing all this sort of testing to make sure everything's looking good. I think that's pretty much it. I don't know. I know there's a lot of other stuff that I would like to cover and didn't. For instance, there's actually another way to do this, or if you say you didn't want to do this sort of behind you didn't want to have this effect where it's behind the frosted glass here, you can actually create, let's see, I'll duplicate this. Sorry, it's clone, not duplicate. Command C, clone 1. So I can actually clone this and move it down stage a little bit, change the size of it, make it 2 feet wide and 40 inches tall. And then I can create a new material. I can create 4 new materials, 1, 2, 3, 4, and call them Scrim L, Scrim CL, Scrim CR, Scrim R. It doesn't really go in the order I want it to. We'll call it Scrim 1, Scrim 2, Scrim 3, and Scrim 4. And then instead of having all these sort of things, you can have it use a texture generator. So I will configure it. So Scrim 1 uses a texture texture generator that is 1 column high and 1 row wide. It's an RGBW, and I'm going to patch it at, well, to make it easy, well, let's patch this one at B.100. Okay. We'll do this one, will be B dot 105. Stick with me. You'll see what I'm doing here. B dot 109, 10. And B dot 115, I think. I'm sure I messed that up, but we'll find out in just a minute. Okay, so now I have basically four materials that have ArtNet addresses. So that's B100, 105, 110, and 115. If I go over to SoundSwitch, I can add 4 new fixtures to my universe map. So basically what I'll do is I'll go click plus, look all the way down at the end here, ZZZ capture, blah, blah, blah. And we're going to go WRGB Pixel for mapping material, 4-channel. That is a fixture that I asked SoundSwitch to create. And we're going to drag one of those onto each of these groups. So left scrim, mid-left scrim, mid-right scrim, and right scrim. Okay, cool. So then we just go into our DMX map and we go to universe 1 because that's where everything ended up. Drag this left scrim is going to go to, I believe it was 100. And I definitely messed up the addressing. The mid-left scrim is going to go to 105 because that's where I put it. Mid-right scrim is going to go to 110. And right scrim is going to go to 115. There's no reason for me to have left those in numbers in between there besides being bad at math. So now if I go back and play this again, I have this this new scrim piece here, and I'm going to clone that by hitting Shift or Command plus C, and I'm going to make 3 copies of that. They'll be offset by 2 feet. Okay, and then I'm going to assign these materials to them. Oh wait, I forgot to increase the luminance. We'll make each of these 50 nits of luminance. A nice new term for nobody needs to know what that means. But anyway, here we go. 50. So then I can take scrim 1 and we're going to call that left, and then scrim 2 could be this one in the middle, scrim 3 could be this one. And so basically that just makes a thing that glows the color that SoundSwitch is telling it. So then you can sort of imagine, I guess this is sort of a custom, sort of similar to like what the that pro facade thing, I can't remember what it is. Basically it's an LED wall with a diffuser that just plays one color for the whole panel, and you can put 4 of them in a flight case and have your facade look like this. So this is pretty neat. You could do it either way. This way, with the actual par cans backlighting, looks more like what it probably will usually really look like in real life. But it also, you can see these beams here. That takes a lot of CPU. You can't really see them because the ambient lighting is up so high. But wherever you have those beams, and especially when they're pointed right at the camera, it starts to freak out. If your computer is too slow to handle that, you can mess with these rendering settings here. Change the resolution limit to 720p. Turn on automatic quality. You can set the atmospheric resolution to low, medium, whatever. If you want, you can really crank up those settings if you have a supercomputer. Yeah, so that's it. Sorry for rambling at the end there. I didn't really plan on recording all that stuff afterwards. Oh, here's a little neat thing to, just that you might want to look at, and I'll put this in the comments of the video. But basically, let me get. Okay, so here are the fixtures that I use in Capture for different purposes. Like, so if I just need a par can, a simple par can, the Color Dash Par Quad 7 is very good. That's what we used in this tutorial. So that's a Chauvet Color Dash Par Quad 7. Moving head spots, like I don't have super expensive ones. I have cheap generic ones, and they're not as good as the Martins, but the Martin 250 has a similar color wheel to most of the cheap fixtures that you might see that are spots, and it has a 3-facet prism. Oh, by the way, yeah, you can, if you basically to do attribute cues and other things like that, basically what you do is, like, let's say gobo change 1, it just set them for both. So if I go in my intimidator spot and I click on the gobo wheel and I feel like this, you know, let's say gobo 26 is a circle, and then I go to my Martin Mac 250 and I go to 26 or 50, and it's not right, but it's close enough. So, like, let me just go back here and click on that. Okay, so now you can sort of see okay, and then okay, so now they both, oh, okay, so now you can sort of see what they're both doing. If I start messing with the attribute cues, like let's say I want gobo change 1 to be a circle, and I know that on my intimidators, if I set this to 26, then I get a circle, and that's cool. So then I go look at the visualizer, and if I set this to what, 0, make it so you can actually see this. So that looks sort of like a circle. So I set both of these to 5. It looks sort of like a circle. So these should be at 26 and these should be at 5, and it looks like a circle. If you wanted to try to get really close, you could also say, I'm going to just move them out of focus. Now it's starting to really look like a circle. Same thing, you know, there's some stuff that's harder to deal with, like how do you figure out how to get the prism to line up exactly? I don't really think you do. Visualization and also lighting, at least outside of the theater, is not really about being totally precise, unless that's what the show is. But for most mobile DJs, that is not the case. So yeah, you can just mess with these until you find a combination that looks sort of similar to what you want your lights to be doing. The static gobos are pretty funny on this thing. Anyway, you get the idea. You can set your attribute cues to fake it as if the fixture is doing what your fixture will be doing. Hopefully I've explained this adequately, and if I haven't, I imagine I'll be making a lot more videos about this specific thing. Again, sorry for rambling on, sorry for my torn up voice, and this is a very long video. Oh well. Thanks a lot. Have a nice day.